Good morning. Today is Thursday morning. Getting ready for looks like a pretty nice weekend coming ahead. We want to bring to you a third series, the third section of a three-part series here in the month of March here, as we all are on, looks like well on our way to preparing our tax returns, or some of you I know have finished your tax returns. So we just want to in this third series, we want to go through and just become, again, continuing to be proactive tax planning and really understand more of the Secure Act that was passed a couple of years ago. So this is going to have a major impact as we move forward in the way our thinking is in terms of planning for you. Before we get going on this, though, I just want to kind of give a quick market brief here, what's going on. Markets tends to be kind of in a sideways motion at the moment, a little bit more negative in terms of the Dow. The NASDAQ is clearly going through a little correction phase, those large tech companies. None of this surprises us. Things just don't go up forever, and we forget that, especially people that are new to investing. They don't understand that. And so I would not be surprised to see some more downside to this market here in the next few days, maybe a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. We'll see here, but all that makes it more attractive. It makes it stronger going forward. We need these corrections. Remember, even in a strong year, we get a couple of 5% and a 10% correction historically. So just don't be surprised by this. It makes it healthier. So with that, let's move on here to this third workshop in proactive tax planning, talking about the Secure Act. Before we get going, though, I want to talk about the five key areas of financial planning. They're preservation of planning, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, and investment planning. In this presentation today, it affects retirement planning, tax planning, and estate planning. But remember, as a comprehensive wealth management firm, we try to always consider the impact of any of these recommendations we make, not just on one, but all these areas for our client. The Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act of 2019, or again called the Secure Act, was one of the largest assortments of retirement plan reforms. The Secure Act contained numerous provisions that were intended to make it easier for businesses to offer retirement plans and for individuals to save for retirement. It also made significant changes impacting existing retirement plans. One of the major changes that was enacted by the Secure Act was to change the age that requires a retirement account to take required minimum distribution. The old law said that distributions had to start the year you turn 70 and a half. The new law changed this. So beginning the April 1st in the year after you reach 72, you have to start taking these RMDs, required minimum distributions. Another major change that was with the Secure Act was to remove the age limit that did not allow those with earned income to make a traditional IRA contribution after age 70 and a half. This is a big deal for a lot of people. You can now make up to $7,000 contribution or $6,000 contribution plus $1,000 extra contribution for being over 50. So if you're under 50, it's 6,000. If you're over 50, it's 70,000. And you can do that if you're over 70 and a half now and you still have earned income. And I'm going to harp on that earned income because we still have these conversations with people. You either have earned income on an individual tax basis, on an individual tax filer, or earned income on a joint tax. And that could be joint or joint with head of household. If you're an individual tax filer and you don't have earned income, you cannot make these contributions. Earned income is not Social Security, it's not pensions, it's not dividends. It is earned income, W-2 income. If you do make a contribution over age 70 and a half, it reduces how much you can use from your retirement funds in a qualified charitable distribution. For some of you, this can be an issue. So if you're considering this, please contact with us or talk to your tax preparer, or really both. Qualified distributions, while they're not part of the Secure Act, there's a strategy for retirement savers on this. This provision allows retirement savers to directly distribute up to $100,000 to eligible charities straight from their retirement accounts after age 70 and a half. And that what happens is then you don't pay tax on this distribution. It has to go directly to the charity. We have several of you that do this, and it's a great way for charity inclined. It's a great way to avoid having to pay the taxes, and it goes directly to them. All you have to do is get us that information, get us the contact people, and then we get that paperwork filled out, have you sign it, and it'll go directly to them. So like many of the other strategies we're discussing today, this one you should see us about if you're interested. And if you're not already doing this, talk to us and talk to your CPA too. Another major change by the Secure Act was the created some new 529 plan rules. It includes the ability to use up to $10,000 in your lifetime for qualified student loan repayments. This is a big deal. I think this is great. This is a great change. So you can take $10,000 out of the 529 and use it against a loan. Oops, sorry. Another major change enacted by the Secure Act was to remove the 10% retirement account penalty for up to $5,000 of retirement fund withdrawals if you are under the age of 59 and a half. But this is only for those that are looking at for the year of childbirth or adoption. So if you're going to have a baby this year, you're going to adopt a baby, you can take $5,000 out of it this year without a penalty out of your IRA to do this. There's also there's the ability to repay this if you wanted to. So if this is something you want to look at doing, please again talk to us or your CPA about this. The Secure Act also made huge changes to how inheritors need to take funds from a retirement account after the death of the owner. This is one we've been talking about with you over the last really couple of years, 3 years. And one that we've taken advantage of some things over the last couple of years. What this does is Secure Act, it created a 10-year rule that basically requires all inherited IRAs, Roth IRAs, and qualified plans to be distributed within 10 years of death. It does make exemptions for certain type of beneficiaries. That includes the surviving spouses, employees, children under the age of majority, not the grandchildren or other children, but their children, disabled individuals, chronically ill individuals, and non-spouse beneficiaries who are less than 10 years younger than the IRA owner. So for example, a sibling 7 years or younger, they would still be able to use the lifetime requirement of distributions. Everyone else is now on a new 10-year rule. So under the old rules, the IRA owner could leave their IRAs to heirs who could stretch the withdrawals over the inheritor's lifespan. So they were called stretch IRAs. This new rule or 10-year rule says that there is no requirement for annual distributions. The account just has to be fully distributed by the end of the 10th year following the year the account owner dies. So if somebody dies this year, your heirs have to start taking it out over in the next year or in the 10th year. So this is a big deal, very big change, and it's changing the way we're looking at a lot of your IRAs, conversions. We'll talk about that in a minute, and how your beneficiaries inherit these things. So our objective for you is to still reduce your taxes and take advantage of the tax deferral as long as possible. There's a warning here, though, for some beneficiaries. The 5-year rule may still apply, so talk with us or your tax advisors on this situation. And then also remember that in your retirement plan documents of a company, this can override, depending on how they're written, this can override the 10-year rule. So this is something, if you have old 401k plans or really need to look at this, getting those things out of 401ks into IRAs on a estate planning basis starts to make more sense looking at this harder. So again, this is really going to change many of the planning strategies that experts are recommending. According to industry experts like Bob Keeler, who's a CPA, a renowned CPA in the country, he's of Keebler and Associates. One of the old rules, best practices was to, whenever possible, leave all of your retirement assets to your spouse, who then upon her death or their death, his death, would leave them in an inherited IRA to heirs who then have the option to stretch their withdrawals over their lifetime. This had enabled a potentially long period of tax deferral, and hopefully the assets would continue growing. This was a neat deal, and it just kept your children from being burdened with taxes out of these retirement plans. If you now leave your retirement funds to your spouse, they must also take distributions over their lifetime now. So as this example shows, a spouse dies 8 years later, then that person leaves it to the beneficiaries who are subject to the new 10-year rule. So you're doing the lifetime RMDs, and this person dies in 8 years, then the heirs have to take it out over 10 years. So industry experts like Bob Keebler are now sharing that the potential new best practice is to review a plan that should consider, if appropriate, leaving some of your retirement assets to your spouse, who upon death would leave those assets in an inherited IRA to heirs, and also leaving some directly in an inherited IRA to your children or others. This could potentially create a spread of the tax liability over more brackets and more years. So if we go back to our example, when your spouse dies 8 years later, during that 8 years of their life, your spouse and beneficiaries who have 10 years to take out this inheritance could be taking distributions, and then after the spouse dies, their beneficiaries are now subject to the new 10-year rule on the amount that's left. So this strategy would potentially, it makes sense tax-wise, could potentially spread that tax burden out over 18 years versus 10 years for your heirs. This new 10-year rule also reminds us that a proactive approach could potentially reap rewards. To maximize your situation under this new 10-year rule, we may want to consider Roth conversions and possibly spreading distributions over many years in lower brackets. We've already been doing this over the last couple of years, and many of you. Unlike distributions from regular IRAs, the Roth IRA qualified distributions are not taxed. So when your heirs inherit these, they're not paying taxes on those. A critical area to review because of the SCARE Act is what is referred to as overall family tax bracket management. And again, this is what we've been focusing on here in the last couple of years, looking at everybody's situation. And this is why we're asking for tax returns again, big time, hard here in the next couple of years. So, logically speaking, if you're in a higher tax bracket than your beneficiaries, then it might make sense to let them take distributions in their tax bracket, whether you do it in yours. But if your beneficiaries are in a higher bracket, then it probably makes sense to take distributions in your bracket, convert these accounts to Roth IRAs, and then leave them as an account that still has to be taken out in 10 years, but it'll go tax-free for them. So the first step really is to review your marginal tax rate and your beneficiary's marginal tax rate. So that's why we're asking a lot of you, what kind of income are your kids making? What are you making? What makes sense here? And we've seen both ways. So let's just review the tax rates for a minute, how they currently are. This is current tax rates for married filing jointly and single filers. Married filing jointly has lower rates on many amounts. So something you need to remember is that even if no changes are made to tax rates, then in 2026, the law says we go back to the older higher rates. So when making your plan, we need to remember that. Remember the current law. I'm going to say this again. The current law calls for a sunset in 2026. So the law says we go back to the older higher rates automatically in 2026. This would be prior to Trump. So as this arrow shows, for some people, as this arrow shows, for some people, this means that a large withdrawal could mean what is today taxed at 24% could be taxed in 2026 at 33%, which is a much higher rate. Again, we'll be watching this, as we said in the last couple of weeks. We could see some major changes here in the next couple of years on this, so we'll continue to be watching this and updating you as we go along. So how can we make the mathematics of an IRA conversion that'll work for you? There's really a lot of personal critical decision factors included in this. And I've got some of them here, the tax rate differential in the year of conversion versus tax rate in withdrawal years. Again, what makes sense? You taking the withdrawals or your kids taking those? You taking the conversion and taking the tax hit, or your kids taking the withdrawals? And then what kind of, if you do convert or your kids are taking withdrawals, what kind of outside funds are there to pay the income tax liability? Do you need the IRA funds to meet annual living expenses? The other thing here is on long-term care issues. This is a big deal. A lot of people we see, they want to give money to their kids to help them. But when we look at this and we look at the stats, we look at our own history with clients now, a lot of you are going to need some of these dollars. People, more and more people, and the stats are showing this as well, are needing assisted living, either home health care or assisted living care. Be careful before you hand out all your dollars here and get them out. Really look at that. So really understand how these IRA funds, you might need them in your lifetime. RMD considerations to remember, they begin at age 72. If you convert to a Roth IRA, Roth IRAs do not have to have an RMD. That's one of the benefits of converting now, is you also take it out of that RMD calculation. Again, time horizon. How old are you? How long can you defer taxes? There's estate tax considerations. I think this is going to grow more in the next couple of years. And then the 10-year rule. This could be a big deal for your kids. They're not easy choices, and we can help you. We're reviewing these. We look at this. Again, that's why we look at tax returns. These are the things we're looking at. 30,000 feet, what makes sense for you? Again, experts like Bob Keebler, who are suggesting that a sweet spot for considering using partial Roth conversions are for those who currently fill up as high as the full 24% tax bracket, and then after the sunset could go as high as filling up the 28% bracket. Again, we can help you on all this. Just talk to us when we go into your reviews. Well, if we see it, we're trying to be more proactive and talking to you about it first, but we need to be looking at this. Other reasons to convert to Roth IRAs, tax brackets. I think this is a pretty easy bet. They're probably going to rise in the future. Your account value might go down. So from a drop in the market, we do this. A lot of you know that when markets go down, these are the times to really look at conversions, because we know if you hang in there, markets come back up too. So this is a hard thing for people. As markets are down, you're already jittery, and then trying to understand Roth conversions. This gets interesting, but that's a great time to be looking at those. Some of the benefits for Roth IRA conversions include lower overall taxable long-term income. Roth IRAs enjoy tax-free compounding. Again, Roth IRAs, they have no RMDs to them, and they allow tax-free withdrawals for beneficiaries. And those RMDs begin, remember, they start at age 72. So charitable giving starts at 70.5. If you want, you can send those IRA distributions to charity at 70.5, but you don't have to start taking RMDs now until age 72. And then the Roth IRAs allow the tax-free withdrawals for beneficiaries. So as part of your part of your family tax bracket management strategy, we also want to confirm your primary and contingent beneficiaries. That's why we've been really zeroing in on this, and we want to continue to every couple of years just make sure. We can each say what your beneficiaries were on any given day when we look at it. A year from now, we'll both look at each other and have some pause. So We always want to be looking at this. If anything changes in your life, we're constantly looking at primary and contingent beneficiaries. This is a big deal for us because we don't want any mistakes. Should something happen to you, we want to make sure things happen the way you want them. And this is also true. We've been asking a lot of you for estate planning documents. If we don't have them on file, pushing you guys to get estate planning documents. Some people have argued with me why they need them. Very, very important anymore. I think it's going to continue to become even more important as we move forward here. Will, trust, durable power of attorney, healthcare directive. Everybody should have these, and we need to have them on file so we know who we need to be talking to when that phone rings. We can help you, and it helps us too. So whatever strategy we end up evaluating, we can help coordinate your opportunities with your tax preparer. We do this with a lot of you. We want the CPA's blessings on the things we're recommending to you at all times. You want us both on the same page. So some key takeaways here. The Secure Act has permanently changed retirement. The situation, your situation, the new 10-year rule needs to be reviewed. Our goal is to help clients understand their choices. Your health is our highest priority. In the last couple months, with Dion's resources through Fred Meyer, we've been sending a lot of you the ability to sign up for getting the vaccination. Please take advantage of that. If you're having trouble getting it, just let Dion know. She'll send you a link. And it's through Fred Meyer. We've been helping a lot of people get vaccinated. So if you're having issues and you want to try to get vaccinated, please let us know. So we've been doing that for a lot of people here in the last couple of months. And continue focusing on your personal goals and call us with any concerns. If you need anything, please let us know. Again, what you can expect from us is more frequent communication and discussions. We're going to continue to be reviewing the economy, tax issues, estate tax issues, investment issues. All these are going to be really critical in the next couple of years. And that's why we're bringing these to you to get ahead of this, make you start thinking about it. So as we review with you, this starts making more sense. And so we're going to stay on top of all this as we move forward here. Thank you for your time today. And please remember your health and well-being really is our highest priority. Without you, there's no us. We want to make sure not only you being healthy, but a lot of you that are coming into retirement, as I've said here in the last, I can't tell you how many times I said in the last few weeks, if you're retiring, you're healthy. If you're not playing in the next 10 years, we're going to be really disappointed. Do fun things, especially after the last year. We really appreciate the opportunity to assist you with your financial needs. We're very honored. And we're honored when you send us names of other people that we can help. We're honored to share this video and our economic reports with people that you send to us. And we can send this link out to them as well. So if anybody you know that can use this information, please share this with them. And it helps them, helps us, and we really are honored when you do that. Again, thank you for your time today, and remember, this proactive approach can many times lead to better results than a reactive one. So that's why we're doing this, bringing this to you, is to get this implanted in your mind, so we can all be looking at this together as we go forward, because there's going to be some changes here, and these are not easy things that are happening to the average guys like you and me anymore. So they're also attached to this to this link is a workbook that is available to you. You can print this out or download it. It gives you a lot of these details. It's kind of your cheat sheet to all these details we just talked about. So with that, it looks like the weather again is changing for the next couple of days. Enjoy this weather. We've earned it. And if you need anything, we can help in any way, please let us know. Have a super rest of the day.